one call. Just a horrible, horrible situation for them.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Hello and welcome back to a brand new semester of TakeaSide. I'm your host, Max McElroy, and it's great to be back. We've got a great show for you today, but before we get started, be sure to go on to sided.co or the Sided Debates app to post, comment, and engage with different topics across all sports and earn points to climb that leaderboard for a chance at a $25 Amazon gift card. With the start of the NFL season, now is a great time to hop on Sided and post your takes. Switching into our first debate, I am joined by Kyle Mathis and Jordan Ziegler to debate their World Series predictions. With less than 30 games left in the regular season, we have a pretty clear idea about how the playoff bracket will shape up. But who will take the World Series crown? Jordan, let's start with you.
Yeah, thank you, Max. As you said, the regular season's almost over, and everyone's kind of itching to see how the playoffs are going to play out and who are going to be those World Series contenders. So, Kyle, who do you think is going to win it all this year?
You know, I hate to say it, but I think that the Houston Astros are going to win the World Series this year. And I know that maybe not a lot of people believe in it, but they are the best team in the American League. It's not even a contest. I mean, the New York Yankees are on a downward spiral. I mean, they might not even win the AL East at this point. The Rays and the Blue Jays are catching up to them. The Mariners are one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. The Cleveland Guardians are somewhat irrelevant. You hate to see it. But other than that, the Astros are the only team left. I mean, I think they're going to fly through the American League. Some series might be closer than others. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to make it. And I think once they make it, they're totally going to have the experience of being in the World Series last year to be able to capitalize and win it. This time, not cheating.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. The Astros are most likely going to win the American League. I can agree with that. I'm taking the St. Louis Cardinals this year. I think they're going to win the Central pretty handedly. They're up by 8 games in the division right now. Mainly, you have to look at Paul Goldschmidt. He's batting .325, slugging .607. His weighted runs created plus is 185, and he has almost a 7 F4 on the season. The dude is going to be the MVP of the National League. He's been great. But you also have to look at Nolan Arenado. His offensive numbers have been a little bit less than Goldschmidt's, but his F4 is still 6.7, almost the exact same production as Paul Goldschmidt because of how good his defense has been. That is the best two-person offensive battery in the entire NL right now, without a doubt in my mind, and it's getting kind of overlooked. The Cardinals have all the weapons they need to make a push through the postseason, and then when they battle through a very tough National League bracket, are going to have the experience they need to overcome the Astros in the World Series.
I mean, yes, I think St. Louis right now is the best team in the National League heading into the playoffs. I mean, I think the New York Mets and the Dodgers are going to be tough opponents for them. But you got to think, just going back to the Astros, when they play the Cardinals in the World Series, the Astros have experience in the World Series. I mean, they made it to the World Series against the Nationals in 2019, and they made it in 2021 against the Braves. So they have experience. They have a deep pitching core. Their average age is 28 years old, so they're somewhat of a young team, yet they have that experience. Yordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, Jeremy Pena are all good young talents. And also, they opened up cap space in the offseason to pay those young guys that already have World Series experience. So they're a good team, and like I said, they have playoff experience. And I got to ask you this, Jordan. Who on the St. Louis Cardinals has World Series experience?
Adam Wainwright, Yadier Molina, Albert Pujols. Just to name a few. Not to mention Adam Wainwright is in prime condition. He's got a 3.33 ERA. Miles Mikolas has a 3.42 ERA. Those are the two best starters for the Cardinals. And I'm glad you mentioned pitching depth because the Cardinals, Ryan Helsley and Jordan Montgomery out of the bullpen, both have ERAs under 2. Not to mention their team ERA combined is under 4. The Cardinals pitching staff is giving up less than 4 runs a game with a hitting staff that includes Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, and people like Brendan Donovan, names that you don't really hear about ever, who have a 126 WRC plus still and are performing at a super high production. The St. Louis Cardinals are a well-rounded team with an elite pitching core, an even more elite bullpen, and a great offense. This has the makings of a World Series team, and then you add on the sprinkle of it's Pujols' last year before retirement, and it's probably Wainwright and Molina's last year before retirement. That's just storybook stuff. It's hard to argue against statistics and then adding the storybook ending on top of it, St. Louis Cardinals are going to win the World Series.
Here's my point here. So I think that the Cardinals and the Astros would end up making an amazing World Series. But here's why the Astros will win. The Astros have an amazing offense, led by some of the best hitters in the MLB. I mean, just take a look at their previous postseason experience, and also just take a look at how far ahead they are of the Seattle Mariners. I mean, they are dominating right now in their division. They're absolutely number 2 right now in the MLB. And right now, they do have the most wins out of any starting pitchers in the MLB. They have the best ERA. They have the best saves. So they do have a good pitching staff or a pitching lineup. And they do also have a good offense. But you know what? I feel like we all made great points. If it does come down to the Cardinals and the Astros, it's going to be a great World Series. I think it'll go to 7 games. But that'll do it. We'll send it to a quick break, and then we'll have it back for our next debate.
Living a healthy lifestyle can be very important. Make sure you get plenty of exercise every day. Even your dogs could use exercise and water. Look like this, not like this. Look like this, not this.
Welcome back. For our next debate, I am joined by Jackson Reed and Sam Lance to discuss some college football predictions. We've already seen some crazy storylines, plenty of upsets, and wild finishes. With all the talent in the NCAA, Sam, which player is going to take the title as the best player in college football and win the Heisman Trophy?
Well, I think the answer here is pretty simple. It's been the best quarterback so far this year, Caleb Williams. At USC, I think he's going to win the Heisman. If you look at the odds on FanDuel right now, your guy, CJ Stroud, is plus 250. Caleb Williams right behind him, plus 300. And then Bryce Young's plus 400. Everybody else is plus 1,500 or more. So it looks to be those 3 guys are kind of leading the race. But, I mean, I have to go with Caleb Williams. Right now he has the 2nd best QBR in the country. He has the 2nd best completion percentage. He has the 3rd most yards per attempt. And Stroud doesn't have any of that right now. So I'd have to go with Caleb Williams. I mean, USC, they're a top team, and they play nobody. They literally don't play anybody until Utah on the road. Whoa. That's their only tough game. He's going to rake up the stats. He'll be the Heisman.
Yes, trust me. I am fully aware you play who's on your schedule, but let's just start with this. He threw for 249 yards and 2 touchdowns against Rice. I'm sorry, I think my high school football team could beat Rice. Shout out the boys back home.
He didn't play
Shout
the
out
whole
boys back
game
home.
against Rice.
I don't care. He threw for 4 touchdowns against the worst team in the Pac-12 besides Arizona. That's a whole different situation. In Stanford. Yes, his completion percentage is great, but you're playing Rice in Stanford. If I want a Heisman player, if I want someone who's going to win the Heisman, I need someone when it matters most, and that's why I'm picking the 2 California boys, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young. Let's start with C.J. Stroud. Ohio State, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, played great against Notre Dame. Yes, I understand that it was a kind of a stuck-in-the-mud game, a 21-10 final, but he still threw for 223 yards and 2 touchdowns with no interceptions, a great QBR. He played just fine. And when you need him to play best, when it matters the most, C.J. Stroud's your guy. Along with that, Bryce Young. Alabama needed a drive. They were on the ropes last week. Against Texas, but when it mattered most, you call number 9's number and get you down the field, game-winning field goal, horns down. We keep going. We keep this thing moving. When I understand that Caleb Williams is going to rack up the stats, and there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks that do that, but when it matters the most, you want your Heisman to perform when it matters the most. C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young are those 2 guys for me.
So I have this for you, right? Caleb Williams and C.J. Stroud have both been on the field for exactly 69 plays. Caleb Williams has thrown for more yards. They have the same amount of touchdowns, and he has more yards with less completions.
He played Rice and Stanford. It does matter. No, it totally matters because if you're playing Notre Dame,
through the whole entire year, he's going to be raking up these stats every single game against all these teams.
I don't care about
The stats are what's going to win him the Heisman.
I don't care about stats.
At the end of the year,
don't
Caleb
care about
Williams will have way better stats than C.J. Stroud, and USC is going to be a team that is going to be in the college football playoff conversation.
They better not be.
If they beat Utah on the road at Utah, that's a top 15 team, and they beat Notre Dame to end the season, they're going to be undefeated. They're going to be in the college football playoff, and they're going to have the best quarterback statistically, Caleb Williams. I don't see how you could think that anybody else would win this award.
Really? So go back. When was the last time a Pac-12 quarterback or a Pac-12 player won a Heisman Trophy?
Well, I
I
have no idea,
Exactly.
but I could tell you that his coach Lincoln Riley has coached 2 Heisman players already.
That's great.
And guess what?
That's
Caleb
really great.
Williams
Were
is
they in the
about to be
Pac-12
his
when they did
third.
that? Were they in the Pac-12 when they did that?
They weren't.
Were they
were
playing
in the
better
Big 12.
competition when they did that? That's right. They were. When was the last time an Alabama player won a Heisman? Oh, that's right. 2 years ago. That's right.
Last
Forgot. That's right. Exactly. I'm telling you right now, how are you going against C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young? It makes no sense. It's nonsensical to me. How?
Lincoln Riley is the
I
best
don't
quarterbacks
care about
coach
Lincoln
in
Riley.
the entire nation.
I don't
He's
care.
about to get his 3rd Heisman Trophy winner with Caleb
No,
Williams.
Can you please get back to a Pac-12? Once we find out a Pac-12 Heisman winner, we can get back to this. But right now, we'll send it back to the man in charge, Max McElroy.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we will hit some NFL topics.
You may not hear it at first, but it's there. Our chant, rising. On this summit, callings converge, voices unify into a chorus that sounds out for good, for greatness. Can you hear it?
All right, welcome back. Blake Sevenbergen here today. We're talking top 5 NFL quarterbacks under the age of 25. The NFL is only getting younger and more talented as time goes on. So let's get started. Number 5, under 25 quarterback in the NFL is Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is the face of the Philadelphia Eagles at this point. He has been lights out in the past year and a half. They beat the Lions yesterday. He played well. You think where he's at in this time, I think the Eagles are an NFC East contender to win that division. Can be Jalen Hurts at 5. At 4, I'm going to ruffle some feathers. I know. Can be Joe Burrow at 4. I'm not sold on Joe Burrow yet. I know he made a Super Bowl last year. The Bengals were one of the best teams in football last year late in the season. After that showing yesterday against the Steelers, I just don't see it with the Bengals this year. He threw 4 picks. He fumbled twice. Fix the turnovers and maybe I can get you higher. Number 3, give me Kyler Murray, the 5'10 superstar. And Kyler Murray's not human. I mean, how do you if Kyler Murray had playoff success, I would argue him at number 1. But Kyler Murray doesn't have playoff success yet like Joe Burrow has. He's still better than Joe Burrow, which is why I've got him at 3. The stats don't lie. Kyler Murray is that guy. He's better touchdown to interception ratio than Joe Burrow. Give me Kyler Murray at 3. Number 2, Lamar Jackson, another guy who's not human. Someone who can do it with his arm and his legs. But the reason why I don't have Lamar Jackson at number 1 is because he hasn't had the playoff success that I want to see from him for him to be the number 1 quarterback under the age of 25. I mean, he's great at throwing the football. He doesn't have a ton of weapons, so he does his best. You know he's going to run the ball all over the place. Lamar Jackson at 2. And then at number 1, if you're telling me if there's any one quarterback in the NFL I could build a franchise around right now, it's Justin Herbert. 6'6", 240 pounds, great leader, uber athletic, on a team that's arguably the best they've been in years. Justin Herbert's that guy. He's 24. I honestly think he's got an outside shot to win the MVP this year. It can be Justin Herbert at 1, and that will do it for my top 5 NFL quarterbacks under the age of 25.
From adversity, we rose. We made history and became pioneers, voyagers, champions, Jayhawks. And when our chant rises, haunting and hallowed, Jayhawks are telling the world what's near. Victory.
For our last debate today, Carson Shea and Dylan Vanderveen will discuss which non-QB will win the MVP this year. With plenty of MVP candidates to choose from early in the regular season, Dylan, who could be the first non-quarterback MVP since 2012?
When we're talking about this, we wanted to have a little bit more fun. You know, picking QBs is it's normal. It's been a decade-long thing, and I can't even tell you who's the last guy. I think it was Adrian Peterson in 2012.
It's time for receiver to win the MVP.
Yeah, I don't know if a receiver has ever won the MVP.
They have not.
If I realize it, but the guy I picked here was Justin Jefferson. Look, Justin Jefferson. It's not a whole lot to say other than the guy has been flat out amazing for the first 2 years of his career. 1,400 yards, a record-breaking rookie season in his first year, obviously broken by Jamar Chase the next season. And then his second season, he backs it up with a 1,600-yard season. And just in an offense now where you got away from Mike Zimmer, who I've said for a couple of years was holding back the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins. I thought Kirk Cousins got a lot of hate, and I thought it was more Mike Zimmer than it was him. And in the first game where I proved it, they just beat off Green Bay, which frankly, the Green Bay weapon room is way less than flattering, but they beat him 23-7. Justin Jefferson, 184 yards in that game, 2 touchdowns on an offense where Kevin O'Connell, who came over from the Rams and is leading a team that is ready to go with Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson being obviously the most MVP candidate on that team.
Right. Well, don't get me wrong. I love the gritty man, Jay Jettos. But I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp here. We all saw what that man did last season, and I'd just like to say he was on my fantasy team. Very grateful for that.
Probably won your league, I'm sure.
I did. And this year, I think he can do it again. Last year, he won the Triple Crown, which was unreal, and I think that it's time that a receiver goes for the MVP. It's never happened before. We know Matthew Stafford is one of the most elite quarterbacks in this league.
And he proved it after he went off to Detroit, after
exactly.
he got on a competent organizational team.
Yes, thank you. But now this past week was not the best for the Rams, but Cooper Kupp was his normal self. He played well. He was the only person on that team that looked like himself, in my opinion. If they're able to win, I'd say 12 games or more, let's say they go 12-5, 13-4, and Cooper Kupp has a season that he did last year, there is no reason why he couldn't win a non-quarterback
Well, I mean, if you
MVP
go
award.
2-time Triple Crown winner,
Exactly.
back-to-back years,
Triple Crown.
Come on, you
Cooper
can't.
Kupp is better than Justin Jefferson, and I'll stand by that.
So,
he's just so consistent.
I love Cooper Kupp. You know, Cooper Kupp. You can't say anything negative really about the dude. But Justin Jefferson is in now the offense that Cooper Kupp was in last season with Kevin O'Connell.
That's true.
He's where it was one of the best offenses schemes of all time, is what people have said. It goes right up there. It goes right up there. The 2007 Patriots, in my opinion, the 2013 Broncos didn't score as many points, but that offense was that elite, and Cooper Kupp was the big one to lead that. But Justin Jefferson now, 1,600-yard season with Mike Zimmer as your head coach, and now you got Kevin O'Connell. Are you kidding me? That guy can go over 2,000 yards. He could be the first receiver I've seen over 2,000 yards.
If that happens, I'm with you. He should win the MVP.
If a receiver gets over 2,000 yards, he doesn't get the MVP. It's ridiculous.
Yes, I agree. So but the award is called Most Valuable Player for a reason, and I agree quarterbacks are valuable. But if Cooper Kupp was not on the Rams last year, they're not coming even close to the Super Bowl. And if he matches that this year, he has to win it. Cooper Kupp is the most valuable player.
You're putting
on that
Cooper
team.
Kupp on a level here that you're saying matching it.
What if he tops it?
If he tops it, it's a different story. But when you're putting an unreasonable amount of expectation on Cooper Kupp, when Cooper Kupp lost his offensive coordinator, and Cooper Kupp really, honestly, lost some pieces. Robert Woods was a good guy to get him off him. He hurt his ACL. Then Odell Beckham Jr. Allen Robinson wasn't even involved in that game, where Tre'Davious White wasn't even playing due to an injury, and that's obviously their top defender. Buffalo, great defense, added Von Miller this year, but I'm worried about Cooper Kupp. I know he's going to get the receptions. I know he's going to get the yards. It's not like he's not going to get over 1,000 yards receiving, but Justin Jefferson this year, I think he's going to be lights out. I think he actually has a realistic possibility to be considered as an MVP candidate. Maybe if it's slow quarterback year, maybe there's not some guy that throws over 40 touchdowns, which is the way Patrick Mahomes played. I can't imagine that not being a realistic possibility for him right now, even without Tyreek Hill.
Right.
But
I believe that voter fatigue is definitely a thing. I don't think that they're going to pick Aaron Rodgers for a 30 in a row. So I think that takes him out of the conversation. Who knows if the voters
I don't even think he should have got it last year. I think Brady should have got it last year. That's my opinion, though. But we're just going to send it over back to Max, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for tuning in for today's show. As always, be sure to log on to the Sided Debates app or sided.co to start posting, voting, and commenting on other debates. For all of us here at Take a Side, we'll see you next week.